My name is Holly Carroll. I'm a biologist with a passion for the great apes. But they're all endangered, and we're losing them much too fast.
This forest lost forever.
And I wanted people to see for themselves what's happening.
How amazing is this?
With a film crew, I traveled to some of the world's most remote forests to be the first to film all the apes in 3D in the wild.
Looks like the plane's stuck.
It was a daunting and sometimes perilous adventure, but always rewarding. Come with me now for a behind-the-scenes trip of a lifetime as I go walking with the great apes.
Lowland gorillas are most often seen in zoos, but it's an unforgettable experience to see them in the wild.
Lowland gorillas are divided into the western and eastern subspecies, and they're spread across 5 African countries. They inhabit some of the most remote forests, and getting to where they live takes a daunting amount of travel.
We're about to drive onto a ferry to cross over, I think, the Congo River, and start our journey on the other side to Mandika.
I'm actually not an intrepid traveler. I'm afraid of flying. I get motion sickness in cars and boats, but it's worth it to get to see wild gorillas. When traveling in Africa, anything that can go wrong probably will, and you just have to roll with it.
Sorry, what?
What's happening?
We got a flat tire, but that's okay, because we have 2 spares.
I would have never believed all of our film gear would fit in a canoe, but these are no ordinary canoes. They're hand-carved from massive trees. After 3 days of traveling in planes, cars, and boats, we still had a 3-hour walk through the jungle. Our sound recordist, Craig, gets some technical assistance from director Jeremy in preparation for the hike.
Nice and soft.
No film crew goes anywhere without gaffer tape. But all the gaffer tape in the world wouldn't stop my food poisoning, which plagued me during the walk. Thankfully, Mike didn't capture that.
Here's the remnants of our group.
Funnily, cameramen never like to be filmed.
Gotcha, Michael.
This research site may be remote, but they're gathering important information for gorilla conservation and hoping to develop an ecotourism project. The site manager, Mike Stuker, collects data on the behavior and movements of the gorillas, but none of this would be possible if the gorillas weren't habituated. Gorillas have been hunted for bushmeat for eons, so they're used to running from people. But to be able to study them, you have to find them and follow them every day until they stop running from you and no longer see you as a threat. This process is known as habituation and takes years. Ironically, it's the Bayaka tribesmen who once hunted gorillas who are doing this work.
So there's not many of the baka that are still hunting them now in the forest?
Sikoyo baka mingi bazo bomaisusu bagori tena zamba. Now they can't eat it anymore because they think that gorillas are close relatives, are very close to human beings. They see somebody hunting or killing gorillas, they will prevent him from killing that gorilla because thanks to gorillas' protection, they are making money, they are earning their living, they are earning their livelihoods.
So this is the first I'm seeing of this. It's Gambia lacortiana. It's one of the most highly preferred gorilla fruits.
Smells good. It is sticky. That sap is like...
It's like gum if you have any facial hair, as I did then. Not too much now, but it was impossible to get off.
Oh, really? Like a song.
Yeah, well, hopefully we see some more of that. That's fun.
The trackers use clicking noises to let any gorillas in the area know we're friendly.
They're shy.
So yeah, that was, we run across solitary males. So usually they'll just vocalize at us and move on. But there's been a couple times where they've given us some charges.
Yeah, he didn't sound happy.
He ran off pretty fast.
It was amazing how such a huge creature could instantly disappear into the forest.
They're right here, so just hang on a second. Okay. Yeah, so I'll pass out masks for everyone. So when we get like within 10 meters, I'll ask everyone to put masks on.
We wear masks and keep our distance to protect the gorillas from human diseases they have no immunity to. Despite the challenging work environment, Mike and his team tirelessly take data every day on what the gorillas are eating and where they're moving. By gaining a better understanding of the gorilla's home range, they will be better prepared to know how to protect the gorilla habitat. People often ask if I'm afraid around gorillas, but when you see this silverback, Kingo, so majestic and gentle with his youngsters, he doesn't seem threatening. They're even less threatening when you see their trick for descending from the trees. The The western lowland gorillas are the most numerous subspecies, but they are declining the fastest because most of them live outside of protected areas. Bushmeat hunting used to be a subsistence practice, but because of soaring human populations, it's now a commercial enterprise, with illegal hunting taking place at unsustainable levels. That's why it's important to enforce wildlife protection laws. Naftali Honig leads an organization called PALF, which does just that. He introduces me to one of his undercover operatives, whose face can't be shown for his protection.
Quand tu coupes la tête, il garde la tête. Quand tu gardes la tête, on voit que c'est un petit singe, alors que c'est un gros singe.
We head to a market where illegal bushmeat is often sold.
Just say that you're Barack Obama.
We pretend to be tourists, which isn't much of a stretch.
But this is men's. Damn.
But we keep the cameras well hidden. We next headed to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where the eastern lowland gorillas live. There are far fewer of these gorillas, but most of them live in national parks, which makes it easier for the government to enforce their wildlife laws. But it's a tough task because it's an unstable region. The rangers in the park are essentially members of the National Army, and they take their jobs very seriously.
I'm with the rangers who protect the eastern lowland gorillas. It's one of the most dangerous jobs in the world because there's poachers out there with guns, and I'm not afraid to use them.
They may be called lowland gorillas, but it felt like we had to climb a mountain to get to them.
This is the toughest hike we've had to do yet, but somehow it feels like really invigorating because I know when we get to the top, there's gonna be gorillas, and it just feels so good to be walking through their forest. I think it might be easier if I was on all fours, but... My first ever lowland gorilla, and it's a mom and her baby just right there, letting us watch her eat. Stripping by.
But the gorillas were still on the move, and we had more hiking to do before we'd find the main group resting. It's hard not to be affected by all the experiences you have in such a wild place. Craig was soaking it all up.
It's our last day at Juicy Biogo to get gorillas, and we're waiting for the trackers to path through the very dense jungle. It's all very cool, really, and we're just looking at a huge spider's web over here. Full of spiders, too. You wouldn't want to walk into it. So this has all been a huge learning curve for a city boy like me, who hasn't actually even seen a gorilla in a zoo, to this. It's extraordinary.
At first, we tried to film every gorilla we saw, but when they're on the move, it's hard to follow them, let alone get the 3D camera set up and ready for shooting before they move off again. A lot of the gorilla's time is spent feeding. They're vegetarian and eat a variety of plants, but they also do a lot of resting and digesting. We just had to wait for that time of day. The foundation of the family is the silverback, and he keeps his wives and children close. They maintain strong bonds by grooming one another and playing. Sitting here with them was like being in some family's living room, getting a rare glimpse at the ordinary but intimate details of their life. Sometimes, though, they seem just as interested in us as we were in them.
I was like 2 feet out of the ground, and she was just like that. What can I say? We came upon a gorilla pile. Basically, they were all sleeping on top of each other. The babies were playing on the silverback. Then we saw the silverback grooming his oldest son so delicately. I've never seen a male gorilla grooming another animal. And then we had a young male come and check us out, and he was kind of standing and looking. And at first I thought, should we back away? What should we do? But he was just being curious. And oh my God, you don't see behavior like that very often. And it's Ben's birthday today, and we think that maybe this was a birthday present for Ben.
What a nice birthday present. That was pretty special.
Felt like my birthday. It's amazing. Super amazing.
Tourists like us are able to have these once-in-a-lifetime experiences because of the dedication of the rangers, but there can be a heavy price to pay. When they're killed in the line of duty, they often leave behind widows and children. These women get no help from the government and rely on assistance from a local nonprofit organization called Poli Foundation. The ladies explain they're grateful for this help because there's no government funding for education, so parents have to pay for each child to go to school. With money from Poli, they can start up small businesses like this one selling fabric and get help paying for their children's schooling. The man who founded Poli is John Kahekwa. He worked for the park in gorilla tourism, but saw a need for helping both the people and the gorillas that he loves. With tips he earned from tourists, he started an agricultural school and helped support rangers' families who've lost their breadwinner.
The first line of the range is the ranger. Now the second line, the second circle will be this new generation, who we are teaching somehow to protect the gorillas together with the community around, and then they will live in harmony.
John shows us that helping people and helping gorillas can go hand in hand. And because of people like John, Naftali, the Wildlife Conservation Society, and the rangers, there is hope for the lowland gorillas.
Being in the presence of a wild gorilla is something you never forget. Let's hope our grandchildren will be able to have this experience too.